Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to show you how to do some decoupage on a pot. This is a terracotta pot, and I've done a paint technique on the pots where I've crackled one color paint on top of a second color paint. And you can do this either using a crackle medium, or you could do it with PVA glue. So if you'd like to learn how to make these crackles, one layer of paint on top of the other, please just click on the links below and that will take you to the videos where I give an explanation of that. So for this particular pot here today, I have in my background a blue, and then I've put the crackle medium on, and then I've painted white on top so that the color below the blue shows through the cracks. And you always get lovely results with that. I've got also a beautiful serviette here with some roses, and I'm just going to put a feature rose onto the pot because I want to use it as a little gift basket for somebody. So when you're selecting a design out of a serviette, you want to make sure that you're actually choosing something that will fit in the area that you've got. So I've chosen for myself here this rose that comes out of this cluster. But if you see, I've got hard edges on the side where the lines are, where the paper has been cut. And I don't want a hard edge there. So I've actually gone and I've torn around all the edges fairly close because it's a slightly different blue to the one that I have on the paint. And I want to do that just so that I get as much of the paint color coming through as possible. Serviettes, if you cut them, will leave you with another hard edge. And I don't want that because the soft edge of a torn paper like that just blends into the background, whereas a hard edge you will see a line. So just to give you some tips, if you place your fingernail against the area that you want to tear and just keep moving it along as you go, it's very difficult then to actually tear into your design because your thumbnail is actually keeping you from tearing the paper in that direction. So this is the technique that I use there. Where I've got a thin spindly little bit like that goes nowhere, I would actually just simply tear that off because that's actually not going to be very attractive on its own. And then you will know, if you've ever worked with serviettes, that they are made of several different plies. Sometimes there are 2 plies to a serviette, which is 2 layers. Sometimes there are 3, but you want to peel off all the background ones so that you've just got this thin layer. And if you have a look at it, it's pretty transparent and you'll be able to work with that nice and easily. Keep these little bits if there are big ones for when you do card making, because I find if I actually am working with a glue stick and I spill some, this is a very nice way to tidy up those edges. So I have this rose here, which I have already taken the backing off, but this is the one here that I actually would like to use. And I'm going to use Podge, or in some countries I know you call it Mod Podge. I'm going to use that to glue this down onto my pot. So the actual Podge is a colorless liquid, and we use it normally in decoupage, and it's very easy to apply. And now because your serviette design is so thin, you don't actually need to paint a layer of the Podge underneath. Your actual Podge is going to just go through. So if you start in the center, working from north to south, and then you work towards one side, so I'm working towards my right, smoothing it down as fairly quickly as I can because it is going to want to wrinkle, and then I would just simply rotate it and smooth down the other side. The secret is always to make sure that you've got enough Podge or Mod Podge on your brush so that it doesn't get dry, because then you will tear your picture. It is going to want to wrinkle, as any paper does when it gets wet, but you simply just leave it and let it dry, and it will contract and it will look as good as new. So the secret now is just to simply make sure that all my serviette is secured. Make sure that there is glue right to the edges because I don't want it to be lifting on the corners. And you will see that this applies fairly easily. One secret when you're working with Podge, which I always do, is I dip my brush in water first before I start, because Mod Podge is a little bit sticky. So if you do that and then dry your brush off, then you are able to rinse it very easily without it sticking into all the bristles and making it quite hard. Right, so you can see there that I've got pretty much the whole surface covered. I'm not going to overwork this anymore. Brush away any extra little bits of Podge or Mod Podge, and then I've got this little tail that goes over the edge, and I'm just going to glue that underneath the the pot. So I'm going to leave this and set it aside now, and when it is dry, I'm just going to simply spray it with a coat of varnish. One thing just to point out though, that is because you've got a paint finish, I wouldn't put a pot plant directly into this pot, because water from that pot plant, when you are giving it water, will start to damage the paint. If you want to, rather put a plastic pot inside this pot, and you'll find that your design lasts much longer. I hope you enjoy that, and I'll leave the links of how to do the crackle in the description box below. Bye.